As has been expressed before in many film spaces on the internet, mainstream comedies are becoming way more visually stale and forgettable as the years progress. However, one exception to this trend is always brought up, and for good reason. The exception in question? Edgar Wright. The energetic and detail-oriented style of his films lends itself incredibly well to visual comedy. One of his shining examples in this regard is his 2007 film Hot Fuzz, a buddy cop movie that revels in the conventions of its predecessors while still finding a way to elevate the material.
You didn't see anything suspicious, and who did?
The 2-minute and 57-second scene I plan on analyzing contains a whopping 91 shots. That's almost 2 seconds on average per shot. But more shots doesn't mean better editing, and thankfully, both Edgar Wright and the film's editor, Chris Dickens, understand not just the rhythm of comedy, but the rhythm of film.
With respect, sir, geographical location shouldn't factor in the application of the law. No thanks.
With this analysis, I plan on showing how the film's editing contributes to its comedic and action-packed tone, and sometimes even intertwining the two, all while driving the story forward in a visually compelling way. This is...
Hello, Nicholas.
Hello, Sergeant.
How's the hand?
Still a bit stiff.
Within the first 6 seconds, we already have a feel of the space and the relationship between Nicholas and the sergeant, thanks to the visual clarity of the directing and the familiarity of the editing conventions being utilized. Additionally, we've been subtly introduced to an audio cue that will be called back to when these lines are repeated, but more on that later.
It can get awfully hairy out there. I'm surprised you weren't snapped up sooner for a nice desk job. That's what I did.
Within this single line of dialogue, we're treated to 3 separate angles, all bound together by the power of screen continuity and directional consistency. No matter what, the sergeant will be facing camera left and Nicholas camera right. This presentation style is also itself an unspoken joke intended to over-dramatize the less entertaining sides of working in the police force. A joke that would be utilized later in the film during high-energy scenes of Nicholas filling out paperwork.
I prefer to think my office is out on the street.
Indeed you do. Your arrest record is 400% higher than any other officer, which is why it's high time that such skills were put to better use.
Continuing on with the fast-paced editing, the flow between the shots is yet again so smooth because it follows the flow of the conversation, and the cuts are motivated by viewer expectation. Cut to the sergeant responding to Nicholas. Cut on action to see what the sergeant is reading off of. Cut to Nicholas's amusing reaction to what the sergeant is reading. Cut back to sergeant after Nicholas looks back up. Cut back to Nicholas, waiting silently in anticipation for what is about to be said.
We're making you sergeant.
I see.
In Sanford, Gloucestershire.
In where, sorry?
In Sanford, Gloucestershire.
Yet another Edgar Wright staple in action, having the background ambience fade out to give into this non-diegetic moment right before pulling the rug from underneath you with a sound that brings you back into the space. In this instance, it's the ringing phone in the distance.
That's in the country.
Yes! Lovely.
Isn't there a sergeant's position here in London?
No.
Can I remain here as a PC?
No.
Do I have any choice in this?
No.
This is arguably the first moment in this scene where the variety in the editing and the visuals takes a step back to service the joke. In this brief exchange, we're only given 2 shot angles. However, given the repetition of its back and forth structure, the timing of the cuts, as well as the performances, really sell this moment.
Sergeant, I kind of like it here.
But you've always wanted to transfer to the country.
In 20 years or so, yes.
Well done you.
Hang on, I don't remember telling you that.
Yes, you did. You said. I'd love to settle down in the country sometime, Jimmy.
In this section, the sergeant leans forward, making his presence in the frame much stronger as he tries to convince Nicholas that his promotion is a good thing. The consistency of the shots being really tight medium close-ups is broken when Nicholas realizes that he didn't tell the sergeant about wanting to live in the country, emphasizing the realization. The sergeant is framed close in the following shot as well because he's still in persuasion mode, until we get yet another cut on action to him looking back down at Nicholas's file.
I'd like to talk to the inspector.
You can speak to the inspector, but I can promise you he will tell you exactly the same thing as I am.
Hello, Nicholas. How's the hand?
It's still a bit stiff.
Just like the reveal of where Nicholas is being promoted to, this moment also comedically emphasizes and immediately undermines a non-diegetic build-up exceptionally well. And this time, we're given even faster cuts. The background swell, along with the emphasized sounds of the phone being picked up and numbers being dialed, makes this otherwise small moment much more exciting. Up to the visual introduction of the inspector, where we get a swooshing sound as he enters frame. And we hear the exact same elevator ding we heard in the very first second of the scene. Did you catch that?
Hello, Nicholas.
That's your audio cue. I wonder if it'll happen again.
And how are things at home?
I'm sorry, sir?
How's Janine?
We're no longer together, sir.
Right, well, then where are you living?
He's staying in the section house, sir.
With the recruits?
Yes, he's living out of cardboard boxes.
Well, then you're packed already.
In this section, we get another example of the shot structure breaking to establish a change in conversation. We're treated to another sequence of shot reverse shots until the sergeant interjects about Nicholas's living situation. The shots become much more claustrophobic, and the sergeant and inspector get their own frames to highlight Nicholas's lack of conversational power in the current moment.
Nicholas, we're offering you a smashing position with a delightful cottage and a lovely little place that I think has won Village of the Year I don't know how many times. It'll be good for you.
I don't really know what to say.
Yes?
Yes, thank you.
As has been the case for all previous parts discussed up to this point, this segment also respects spatial and directional consistency, making the conversation easy to follow. However, what really takes the cake in this part are the last two shots. We see Nicholas's bewildered expression, and then cut to the most stock photo-ass grins from the inspector and the sergeant, punctuated by the same phone ringing sound from earlier.
No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to,
You want to take this higher?
Yes, I do.
You want me to bother the Chief Inspector with this?
Yes.
You want me to get the Chief Inspector to come all the way down here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Kenneth?
Hello, Nicholas. How's it ham?
Still a bit stiff.
We get another build-up, although the stakes seem much higher than before. The inspector tries to repeatedly warn Nicholas of asking for the chief inspector, but Nicholas shows no fear. All the while, a longer swell builds up over more time. The inspector's hand hovers over the phone with hesitation, until we get a
Kenneth?
and then another elevator ding, another whoosh, and another
How's it ham?
Still a bit stiff.
this time with the sergeant saying it, concluding the callback gag.
Chief Inspector.
Keep your seat. Now, I know what you're going to say, but the fact is, you've been making us all look bad.
I'm sorry, sir?
Of course, we all appreciate your efforts, but you've been rather letting the side down.
It's all about being a team player, Nicholas.
You can't be the Sheriff of London.
Guess what? It's more motivated cuts. Yippee! Cut to Nicholas trying to get a word in to the chief inspector. Cut to the chief inspector's interruption as he sits down and the camera pans with him. Cut to Nicholas sitting down mid-pan to match the actions. Cut to medium close-up of chief inspector to emphasize the significance of his statement. Cut to an over-the-shoulder shot of Nicholas's confused and concerned reaction. Cut to a low-angle shot of the sergeant, inspector, and chief inspector to represent the power dynamic. Cut to a new low-angle medium close-up of the chief inspector to show his newfound disdain of Nicholas's excellence. Cut to the same angle type, but of Nicholas this time for visual consistency, and to falsely suggest that he has a stake in the conflict. Cut to a pulled-back low-angle shot of the sergeant, inspector, chief inspector, and Nicholas to highlight that it's now 1 against 3. Cut to a side-angle medium close-up of the sergeant's interjection. Cut back to a close-up of Nicholas's response. Oh boy, that was a lot of motivated cuts. Edgar Wright must be a genius or something.
If we let you carry on running around town, you'll continue to be exceptional, and we can't have that. You'll put us all out of a job.
With respect, sir, you can't just make people disappear.
Yes, I can. I'm the chief inspector.
Well, however you spin this, there's one thing you haven't taken into account. And that's what the team is gonna make of this.
We finally made it to the end of the scene, and it pulls out the same Edgar Wright staple yet again. And like before, we're given a false sense of hope, but it's dragged out even longer than before. The swell is over 20 seconds, and this time, sounds of the police station are embraced rather than silenced. It's build up, until the party popper goes off. It's silent, apart from a moody piano riff that's briefly introduced. to emphasize the strength of the visual. Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about the visuals. In the beginning, the camera pushes into both the Chief Inspector and Nicholas to signify the tensions rising. It stays on the close-up shots during their disagreement until we get a cut on action of Nicholas standing up. The penultimate shot of the entire scene is the first time the screen direction is broken, and it's fitting that this directional incongruity is utilized to foreshadow Nicholas's eventual disappointment. The final shot is a powerfully composed visual of all of Nicholas's co-workers silently and frozenly congratulating Nicholas, as the camera pans back to put the back of his subtly lowered head in center frame. And because Edgar Wright loves transitions, the sound of a camera shutter leads into a shot of a forensics investigator taking a picture in the next scene. It's so good. As E.B. White once famously said, explaining a joke is like dissecting a frog. You understand it better, but the frog dies in the process. Although that is in essence what I've just done with this analysis, I believe the culmination of all of these editing techniques is best observed by just plainly watching the scene. So, keeping all that was just said in mind, let's rewatch the scene as it is in the film. What really makes Edgar Wright movies stand out from the pack is that for him, every moment matters. From a montage of traveling to a new location, to getting ready for work in the morning, anything can be made entertaining. And Hot Fuzz is just another one of his crowning achievements to demonstrate this concept exceptionally well, while on top of that, being a well-told story with a lot of heart. I'm Dexter Froud, and this was my analysis of Nicholas's promotion.
Hey, what's this?
Jesus Christ! Oh, my eye! Ta-da!